television antenna in Prague is an interesting story in that when it was built, when it was finished, people were very upset and alarmed by the power of the waves in which it was generating. The authorities at this time, in order to placate the protest, put modular panels around the tower, telling people that it was somehow absorbing, acting as a filter for the waves. The truth is, it's probably plastic, but it stopped people from complaining.
This story reflects the nature and the character, or lack thereof, of human civilization.
The thing to remember, no matter how outlandish it sounds, is that it's not fiction. The man you are about to meet is being pursued by agents, if you will, of governments. Again, if you will, who are hoping to secure the sort of information that he holds in his mind concerning biological weapons. The failing global economy is directly related to this man's fate, and by extension, to everyone's fate.
My name is Alexei. Some friends of mine call me Sasha.
Let me explain. Unregulated capitalism and global corporatism, which almost work with zero regard for the humans in local economies. These systems leave countries like this one in Central Eastern Europe in intense economic and social disorder. They don't live like people in the West, who, educated through Cold War propaganda, believe that their way
Frankly, I believe that I will last longer than them.
Unfortunately, there is an inability for Westerners to acknowledge that the more they push their ideology without any real concern for the people in transition, the more potential.
We all live in a speculation of truth and a lie of a global system of order.
So the more potential disharmony.
There is no global order, and the so-called leaders really do not have a clue what they are doing.
The more potential disharmony they are bringing to themselves. The saying, what goes around comes around. Well, some scary things that will shake things up will be coming around soon. And all the money and fighting power aren't going to help anyone.
It is said that history is a constant state of memory.
If that's true, then the city is harboring some serious neuroses. 10 years ago, this country stood up for its rightful place in Europe. Today, its economy is weak, its political system is faulty, and both are said to be corrupt. And that corruption came as much from the West, if not more, than from the leftover frustration of the old system. The people here have no real friends, and they trust no one. Why should they? A generation is left to fight it out, with no mentors and a great deal of confusion. This man, Alexei, is a special case amongst this confused generation. He knows the formulas and science of biological weapon production. The kind of information you don't really want floating around in the mind of a taxi driver in Hochschwitze. And we're starting to see some real unrest over here. This man's story shows how we've reached a point in history where the mismanagement of global systems is about to backfire, and the fact that this man exists, well, perhaps everyone should be really afraid.
There's been a degree of international attention focused on the fact that the Soviet Union had large numbers of scientists working on nuclear weapons programs. And so Western institutions have done something to try to contain these people by offering them new positions, retraining, and so on. But if we reflect on the fact that there was a similar kind of project underway in biological warfare, and that in the same way there are former Soviet research scientists who are very skilled in this kind of work, not just in research but actually in the production of these agents, then we're placed inescapably with the conclusion that nobody now knows where these people are or what they're doing.
Alexei's existence, well, he lives in a sort of personal hell. He knows more than any man should know. Visitors here think that they're in Disneyland, but they do not have any idea what's going on here. This is not They look around the beautiful architecture, and then they leave, barely contemplating the residents of this country. Alexei is a scientist of the highest order, which also means the lowest order, scientifically speaking, in terms of the contribution to the energy patterns of the universe. Think about it. Terrorism, nightmares that you could imagine. Biological weapons. It's a contradiction in terms, and yet it's worth a lot of money.
Bioweapons are microorganisms, bacteria, or viruses which enter the human body and destroy it.
Alex tries to calm his mind with Eastern philosophy.
At the age of 17, in 1986, Alex was selected as a young genius into the Soviet scientific research program at the Biological Weapons Research. This research violated an international treaty to halt the proliferation of such weapons, which have the potential to wipe out entire populations, to say nothing of the mass panic which would ensue.
Actually, he's compelled by his own morality, which is somewhat laughable in this day and age, considering the present state of Russia.
I'm 30 years old. I was born in Kazakhstan.
But even sound philosophy cannot help in this situation. We're way past mythological saviors. Herman has said that every age, every culture, every custom and tradition has its own character, its own weakness, and its own strengths, its beauties and ugliness. It accepts certain sufferings as matters of course, puts up patiently with certain evils. Human life is reduced to real suffering, to hell only when two ages, two cultures,
is reduced to real suffering, to hell. Two cultures, and two religions overlap.
Now there are times when a whole generation is caught in this way, between two ages, two ways of life, with the consequence that it loses all power to understand itself and has no standard, no security, no simple acquiescence. Naturally, not everyone feels this equally as strongly. When a man appears, the world rises up and strike him down. It's hard to be a man in such an economy.
Saddam Hussein, perhaps.
Over 1,000 years ago, the last woman in a long line of women rulers, Libouche, gave up her power to the men. She said, "I am a woman, and I rule like a woman, not with a rod of iron, but with compassion, which you mistake for weakness."
This story takes place in a country that is on the border of two faulty systems. It's the land of post-communist neo-ultra-capitalism.
These neighbors often believe that capitalism is spilling into the former Soviet Union. What is actually happening at a greater rate is chaos is bleeding into Western Europe, Southeast Asia, to the Middle East. These consequences are away. Benefits of capitalism reaching Russia.
The separation of labor and wealth is said to be the seedbed of corruption.
Adam Smith, the founder of economic theory, said, "Sympathy for others is the essential characteristic of the human condition." But present market economic theories are in direct contradiction with this philosophy. Economic science, as it is called, is a crapshoot of false information and actually is little concerned with the welfare of any individual. This man needs money, just like the rest of us, and he wants to take care of his family. And he has something for sale.
Love is not built upon possessions, but on serve at times in adversity.
And yet these people continue to fucking fuck with me.
Where is the breaking point? Where is the line? What will it take for him to give up that information?
Some men carry the burdens of others' weaknesses.
You could say that he knows more than any man should know. And now he sees everything differently from the rest of us. He's elevated his consciousness so that everything is like a joke to him. The self-righteous criticisms of Western-educated intellectuals and pseudo-intellectuals do not apply to mass panic and mass death.
Economic
rates don't apply. And this concept of a global economy just doesn't exist. It's a joke.
Recently, The Economist contradicted its own cover story of a nothing global economy with its own internal advertising, which said, business knows no boundaries. Well, which is it? According to the math of J.R. Stahl, calculations of advice offered by the community of economists to solve the major economic problems of the last 25 years, most of which they created. And that together with how often this advice was followed, which is nearly every time, and factor in the number of times the advice solved the problem, well, that number is very close to zero. These men could not even run a cafe, and yet they purport to control whole economies. Fools. Fools, all. And all those who follow. It's no wonder Alex is going insane.
Subject will have it in his head that he is the one person that knows what's going on.
Sometimes to retreat a step can mean an advance several steps forward.
This is a statement from the I Chain.
After a time of decay, the power of the light that has been banished returns. There is movement, but it is not brought about by force. The movement is natural, arising spontaneously. For this reason, the transformation of the old becomes easy. The old is discarded, and the new is introduced. Both measures accord with the time, and therefore no harm results.
No harm results. I don't think that's going to be the case if a biological weapon gets used.
My being responsible for this is the way I am. I suppose I'm not pulling the trigger. I suppose I developed the bullet, but I'm not pulling the trigger. Nevertheless, it leaves me in a very strange position.
Nuclear weapons obliterate everything. Biological weapons only kill life, so they leave the architecture, the cities, intact. But for who? Who's going to live there?
The end of the Cold War has created a whole new range of problems and a whole range of security threats.
Auditory hallucinations, context of relatively well-preserved personalities.
When I was 18 years old, I did a program at Cambridge University, chemistry and physics departments.
The great man, Genghis Khan, possessed the ability to awaken faith in humans. They became lemmings of a conceptual leap. Superhumans. Genghis was a Buddhist in his heart. He said, there really is nothing to be afraid of. And the people followed him.
There really is nothing to be afraid of.
There really is nothing to be afraid of.
Propaganda is not something that only the enemy uses. It is a delivery system of lies and truths, blended to relieve the confusion or ignorance of the greater population.
Alex grew up with these icons as his reason for being. They are not unlike similar iconography of the West at the same time period.
Whether saying what is truly happening, it is of no great importance.
Apparently, the West refrained from making biological weapons, but this is not information that can be proved. And it doesn't really matter. If the people don't have any idea what's really going on, then the concept of democracy is a joke. The things we don't know, that are studied and tested, the things the media are not given to tell us, that's another level of fear that could drive us all to a revolution. We're not really capable of seeing what is actually occurring and are kept by our fears of this unknown from a comprehensive understanding of the faulty management of the planet.
The men in charge are so poorly manipulating philosophies, economies, and societies to such the degree that consumerism is international religion, and the wise humans who see it are developing these deepest sensibilities from watching the apocalypse occur under their nose.
Alex comes from a long line of successful scientists within the communist system. His grandfather was twice hero of the Soviet Union, and his father helped develop new technology in the 1960s and 70s.
Это все новое, которое не
A lot of freedom within the communist system. And I'm very lucky. I can travel. I can receive magazines in English and so on.
Eliminate your fears
Да, приходят такие
and
мысли.
desires will come naturally to an end.
It is believed the weapons could have been tested on human guinea pigs.
Within 3 days, the guinea pigs were completely destroyed. Their internal mechanisms were completely dysfunctional. They would die.
When Alexei's father realized what they had his son doing, he tried to intercede, but the KGB rigged his parachute and killed him.
Now, the Soviet Union signed an international treaty in 1973 saying that they were going to discontinue the manufacture of biological weapons. In fact, we know that they started new programs after signing this treaty.
I was transferred to the basement laboratories, and I began to work on biological weapons. Various compounds to be loaded into warheads that would kill people, but not destroy any buildings. And I was quite good.
Alex only found out the truth about his father in 1997.
Developed a strain of anthrax, which was quite effective. And this was nice, but the government there would sort of... You would do something good, and your reward was to move on to the next chapter. But this was not a sin during communism. I had power. I had a nice flat in Moscow.
The human mind is originally white, but it is clouded by unnecessary thoughts and by desires. Once such obstructions are removed, the clear mind will manifest itself.
Humans are about to
Конечно, не так уж и
kill
хорошо. Но это
They
определение.
are the lowest creature in the universe.
Большинство
The leaders have a God complex.
Victim suffers abnormal subjective experiences such as
Alex has developed acute paranoid schizophrenia. Not only because everyone's after him.
The year was 1990, and the biopreparat was running. And I was working there and living quite a nice lifestyle at this point. I got a nice flat and some women. And I received a phone call from the lab, and they said that an accident had happened.
One of his colleagues pricked his finger through 3 gloves.
You get black bruises appearing under the skin as the blood clotting mechanisms are disrupted. You begin to bleed from your nipples, from your rectum, from your fingernails, from your eyes, and there's a general breakdown of the body's ability to handle its own blood system.
These weapons are horrendous. It will be like hell on earth.
Science is at the whim of political pressure, and it is out of control.
It will be an apocalyptic situation. Imagine millions of people dying and bleeding all around you.
Bleed and bleed and bleed.
This man was dead in 10 days. He was a scientist.
Physical deterioration.
Science allowed mad cow disease into the human food supply at the pressure of economic lobbying. Science makes artificial wombs for babies. Science thinks it owns nature and acts as God by genetic manipulation of all sorts of foods. And worse now, of viruses to be used as warfare. This scientist had an epiphany when his son was born a few years ago.
Have faith that the future will be better, and let go of your present anxieties.
I spent 4 months in Moscow in my flat. Thought about what I was involved in quite deeply. took holiday to Cairo, at which point strangely enough, coincidentally, Russia collapsed. And I didn't return. I collected my money and slipped through the cracks.
The victim suffers abnormal subjective...
Nearly every time in history that the statement was made that the end of the world was near, the speaker was both ridiculed and he was wrong.
The victim suffers
I wish that I was wrong, and I welcome your criticism, your cynicism, and your ridicule.
abnormal acute hysteria.
У тебя ничего с этим не происходит?
To be sure, there is no global system of order, and the so-called leaders really do not have a clue what they're doing.
They also suffer disturbances in
Scientists do not deal with the truth.
space.
They deal with limited and approximate descriptions of reality to gratify their egos.
And what it is the pathetic and ridiculous continuation of some out-of-control systems of order.
Doing this kind of work was, in a sense, thrilling to find a new strain which was more powerful than its mother. I didn't think about use. I didn't think about the thousands or millions of people that this could kill, would kill, has killed, perhaps. I don't know.
Who do you think you are? You are.
The media magnifies and inflames and sells itself.
Present media imports from the West are rather pathetic, and young people are very aware of it. A 19-year-old woman I met at a recent rally where they camouflaged McDonald's so it wouldn't get attacked told me about how the president has become a puppet and can do very little for his people. Rather than rebuild his father's historical building in the heart of the capital as a statement of regrowth and pride in heritage, he's selling it to a corporation.
We're certain that the FSB, the former KGB, are spraying the fields in the pot which it's purchasing. We know this because we do.
Alex has developed a psychological addiction to high-grade marijuana that he now thinks is being tampered with by the former KGB.
The meaning of your existence is a question which should not be raised. It is in each moment and has nothing to do whatsoever with the outcome of any event.
I was living in the late 1980s in the Canadian province of British Columbia. The university at that time was legally sanctioned to research the increase of THC levels by genetic manipulation for the use of chemotherapy patients to help them relax. This stuff, chemo, found its way onto the streets not long after it found its way into the chemist tables. I was one of the first people to smoke chemo. An incredibly high level, perfectly purple, pristine bud. But the problem is, these levels, they're not natural. They're laboratory produced as acid or ecstasy. I'm not... I'm convinced that there is an argument for suggestion that such unnaturally intense levels of such a mind-altering substance as chemo or any other of the hundreds of similar chemically enhanced marijuanas born, of course, entirely out of the illegitimate nature of the whole drug industry. Where people grow it in the bush, it's natural, it's soft, it's comfortable. People put it in factories, and as technology gets hold of it, like it's got hold of everything else, as technology gets hold of it, it twists it into something that I don't think is safe, simply because this drug, at such an intensely high level, I feel has the capacity to induce in almost anyone an acute state of paranoia and schizophrenia.
To live this way, under these conditions, under these circumstances, is absolute hell.
There's a story out of the old Soviet Union called Radio Green, which supposedly occurred in the late 50s in a fairly fair-sized city in the Central Soviet Republic. That the evenings, all evening long, they would expose the city to radio waves, high level concentrations of radio waves, to affect dream patterns. Research into this was concluded too soon to tell what the possible outcomes were. They just monitored in the short term, so we had no idea what the long-term implications were.
Alex has a fixation with this television tower. He thinks they send messages.
Fuck with his system by sending him messages.
He thinks they send messages specifically to him. And this, of course, is dismissed as paranoia and conspiracy theory.
The British actually used a biological weapon when they gave Native Americans blankets which had been deliberately contaminated.
I have a son. He is 4 years old. When he was born, this was the point where I began to see things a little differently. I began to see the actual weight that I have in this world. And frankly, it's a little overbearing.
What we need is a fundamental rethinking of the way work and society works.
Economic theory was flawed fundamentally because it attempts to reach equilibriums by denying the potentially best situation. It calls this survival of the fittest, but the fittest frequently do not rise to the top in this system.
You're sending your money. I don't want your money. Not your money. I want you.
Since the disintegration of the Soviet superpower, no new world order has taken place. It is a period of disorder.
My wife laughs at me. She thinks I'm crazy. She thinks I'm losing my mind, and she just wishes that I would just settle down and be a nice, normal person and take a job as some chemist or something.
Alex is going insane from the inside and from the outside. He is over-aware of the true state of the near future and his place in it. And he cannot deal with the fact that he can cure every person on the earth.
He could theoretically kill every person alive, not to mention the other creatures.
does not commit any evil at the root, then the branches and the leaves will be good. Humans are the hell of the other creatures. You are about to seriously make a mess of the universe. The acts of your societies betray their own religions. You have lost your connection to the universe.
To be responsible for killing people, for killing more people, even though in a way I'm responsible for the potential death of the entire planet.
I knew that
Have faith that the future will be better, and let go of your present anxieties.
There was a case in Colorado where it was discovered that the squirrels which were animated down the park were in fact contaminated with a strain of bubonic plague. The park officials had all sort of shocked and didn't tell anybody about it till afterwards, perhaps wisely.
humans live in denial.
This is not Disneyland.
We have a little more disorder that is potentially healthy, and nobody is doing anything about it.
In the Civil War, since time was cut and dry for all players, involved in the game, people knew where they stood, rules were much the same. Now it's anarchy, it's globalization of the economy, they call it globalization of anarchy.
They've lost their ability to function in society. They no longer have the capabilities to deal with the practical, pragmatic realities of feeding themselves, earning enough money to support their family. They've been cut off, they've been alienated. Every time the hand is held out to them, whether institutional hands or personal familial nets, the hand is usually slapped away. It's very often that they don't discern the stream as a result of the deinstitutionalization of mentally ill people, especially in the West. Most people on the street should be treated like they've either been forsaken or they're sick. The help that they need.
Would take this and they would produce it, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if they made it in mass quantities. I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
The problem with you humans is that you can't separate your existence from the factual information in your history books. The history of the world is written in blood. Conquest, after power struggle, after religious differences, after conquest. If it's not religion, then it's money, power. Humans are out of touch with the universe.
Out of touch.
And therefore, you are the worst creatures.
The schizophrenic is in hell, but quite frequently, it's a state of genius.
Schizophrenic automatically takes what other people think or say about him in real or imagine and magnify exponentially.
They are sometimes capable of higher levels of understanding realities. There's a heightened sense of importance, but in Alex's case, it's obviously justifiable. This isn't a messiah complex of your typical schizophrenic.
And most of the people we've come in contact with smoking quite a bit. When did the first time somebody's developed a psychosis from this strand of marijuana?
The victim suffers abnormal subjective experiences.
Illogical.
Thought echo. Thought broadcasting. Thought disorder.
Sensing the presence of a force or person not actually present.
Distortions in time and space. Thought withdrawal.
The mafias,
the governments, the newly evolved forces of commerce
are pursuing brilliant scientists and the secrets they hold.
There's a constant battle with what my soul and body want, and what this sort of this newfound consciousness or morality, as you say in the West, would contradict.
The FSB, the mafias, agents of foreign governments are not fictional stories in a movie or a magazine article. They really do want what Alex knows, and sooner or later, they will get it. International police forces are not as strong as we would hope. These people entice Alex by throwing money and treated drugs and girls at him. They take him to fashion shows and say,
intelligence service will never give up.
take your pick, Alex. Take two. This objectification of women as sex object only adds to his hell. This poor man has far too much information on the hard drive. They have him thoroughly confused.
Do not, even for a moment's desire, stray from what is right.
Why is it opening inside and closing?
They're walking all over him, and he has no one to turn to. For real help.
What's not so nice is that these are the good guys. These are the, as they say, these people are supposedly out for the benefit of mankind. These people are working towards peace. These people do peaceful warfare, as they say, illuminating possible menaces. in this world. Yet they harass me with such a degree. It is absolutely disgusting.
Nobody really knows what the real effects would be of biological warfare. Probably they would be worse than we can imagine.
You are all lying to yourself.
Someday I will stop on the sun and wake up right as a and dreams that you
These people continue to fucking fuck with me. And it's not just the fucking agencies. There are fucking mafia bastards out muscling their way in the crudest methods. It's almost laughable the way they request my assistance.
Something now is so genetically altered to create paranoia, to create fear.
Alex is followed regularly. His neighbors change every 2 months. He has photographs of people that he purports to be spies. He thinks his home is bugged, and he knows his phone is tapped. They don't even try very hard to conceal themselves, because their methodology is to induce psychoses on him. He has no friends. He has nowhere to turn.
For the past 2 years, this level of my being observed, my observation, the observation of me, has grown to a very rude state. I can't sleep anymore. I am sure there is some device planted in my house which is keeping me from sleeping at night. I can't describe it. It's not something you can hear. It's not something you can see. I'm sure if I had turned my flat upside down, it would not be found, whatever device they have. But they're in my flat, for Christ's sake.
The general criticism against my argument is based on our cumulative understanding of reality, which is what has been pounded into our heads as the way that everything is. Elitist intellectualism destroys, in fact negates, the potential for our reality on this planet to not be as it is. And what it is the pathetic and ridiculous continuation of some out-of-control systems of order that are not in order and are based only on the speculations of the weak human mind.
In the 1970s, it was thought that there were 4 countries in the world with advanced biological warfare capacities, and now we think that there are perhaps 10.
Who is we? Is we those with the biological weapons? Usually,
versus them. But now everybody is them.
Now everybody is them. The humans are about to wipe themselves out. Are they really that stupid?
If you took 100 kilograms of anthrax spores and you let them drift from an aeroplane travelling in a straight line over Washington DC, estimates are that this would kill between 1 and 3 million people.
The particles are designed to fly away from each other.
Each carrying a virus.
Like dust.
You won't even
see them. Emotion, desire, and consciousness of self. These are the themes of the internal.
Wisdom and knowledge.
Wisdom and knowledge
are not one.
Perception is not relative to learning.
Insects, which will spread diseases in nature, could be used to spread artificially manufactured diseases.
This is not the X-Files. Alex is not an actor.
The chasm, the gap that has developed over history between what is happening in global society, what is perceived to be happening, and what could happen to correct it, will take a major overhaul of human consciousness to overcome. How could you get everyone on the planet to confront this ridiculous state of societal existence?
If it were not for him, my son, I would take my own life. Because to live this way, under these conditions, under these circumstances, is absolute hell.
And yet, if we don't, someone will release a biological weapon soon, and all hell will break loose.
The cool eye discerns men's character. The cool ear hears the intent of their speech. The cool mind.
You see, it's simply hopeless. It would just be a question of trying to contain chaos.
Penetrates everything.
I'll come home. I've changed the lock 7 times already. I'll come home, the door will be locked. Inside the flat is complete chaos.
Fucking been doing!
To some degree.
As we near the end of this century, we are seeing many definitions change in the psychiatric sciences. But this is simply a reflection of the confusion of the mass consciousness. It is as though we were willing an apocalypse upon ourselves. Legal and illegal drug and alcohol abuse are almost out of control. More and more outbreaks of random violence are occurring.
Pretty much destroys the idea of sharing the good vibe.
And it's like night and day. I can find myself completely at peace. And then 45 minutes later, perhaps on the tram, there's some goon breathing down my neck. And he is fully aware through his electronic devices of what I am thinking. And I'm probably just thinking, what am I thinking? I'm thinking about birds. I'm thinking about what I will cook myself for dinner tonight. I'm thinking about taking a shit. I'm thinking about how good that shit was I took after that one particular meal, and perhaps I will cook this meal again. And there's this man invading my thoughts, monitoring my thoughts, waiting for this. Sniff it, this little piece of gold that will help them win the race.
The race is more like a descent. A race towards what? Financial domination, corporate domination through international acquisitions does not aid any real growth. It merely makes it appear that something is occurring. To continue the present descent and disallow strength and self-respect in small developing nations is only going to lead to a stronger retaliation. If you stop up the hole of a mouse, it will eventually chew through your belongings.
Artificial diseases will just die out in the biosphere, or whether they might actually spread, mutate, and so on in an uncontrolled manner, and find a niche of their own.
Alex also believes that some diseases are living in the metros in the form of mold as a result of other biological experiments over the past 30 years.
I don't know what to do. At this point, I am at the end of my fucking rope. I have no one to turn to, nobody to trust. Nobody listens to me. Nobody understands me.
Nobody understands me. Human society is locked into an introspective adolescence. Everyone is swimming in their own ego because it's perceived that there is no recourse.
You learn it badly because you do not understand that you are caught in a mass psychosis of failure.
It's a mass psychosis of failure.
Why do you always fail? Because you expect it.
I cannot go to the Russian government. I cannot go to Switzerland.
20 years ago, Switzerland was 50 times richer than Mozambique. Today, more than 500 times richer. A very small percentage of the mass wealth of the 300 most wealthy individuals on the planet could take care of safe, clean, self-respecting living and education for all the world's people. It really is that easy. But it's not happening.
It's not happening. No, it's not the shit out of me. You fucking listen to me! I'm not giving it to you! You wanna fucking play here? You wanna fucking play? I ain't fucking around, mate! Don't!
Human beings tend to be easily excitable. Observe the situation calmly.
Tend to be easily excitable. Observe the situation comprehensively and calmly.
The cool mind penetrates everything.
I believe that these unpleasantries are being transmitted to me through radio and television. I believe that,
What do I believe? I think, therefore I am.
I think, therefore I am. This fundamental lie of your egos gives you a God complex.
The truth about biological weapons may not be able to be fully understood until it happens, until somebody releases one, causing mass panic and mass death. And of course by then, it's too late. It's possible extinction of time. Extinction. The thing to remember is that it's not fiction.
to integrate myself into the system would go against everything that I've been living for, for the past 4 years.
Charity, that palliative to satisfy the conscience, and keep the same old system of haves and have-nots quietly contained. Well, it's certainly not going to be quiet when mass international panic starts. Delusions of persecution. There's nowhere to run, and there's nowhere to hide. Spending billions of dollars to go to Mars, a cold rock in space, is both a waste of money and completely ridiculous. What are you going to do on Mars?
What I have stumbled across or worked towards is something that will not benefit mankind in any way whatsoever. It might benefit myself. It might benefit a few. But the destruction that it is capable of is not of any worth to this planet.
The United Nations was designed around the capitalist belief that the market would eradicate poverty as wealth trickled down to the poor. Well, the truth is, wealth does not trickle down, it trickles up. Even though the World Bank claims resources for fighting poverty are available and affordable, there first has to be political commitment. But governments would rather spend billions trying to go to Mars.
If I could get rid of these noises in my head, I would. And there's no two ways about it. It's earplugs. Removing the ears and not deafening myself would not do this. These are inside.
We are suffering a sort of collective slow-motion suicide. Because, like a suicide, we lack the ability to see ourselves in the context of our reality, and there appears to be no solution under this illusion of ambivalence.
1 and 5 individual microscopic particles of agent decay in the monkey's gut are enough to make the animal crash and bleed to death.
The question is, how can we stop this from happening? Where are the reactionary forces, the revolutionary heroes? I should say evolutionary, since revolutions only replace one despot with another. There is no government or spiritual or academic body to simply look at what humanity is and knows and present workable solutions and improvements to our so-called civilization. Who is going to lead us out of this?
I found some peace through the Zen teachings of a master, which I seemingly was approached by coincidence, perhaps.
The absolutely aware and desire will come naturally to an end. We almost have no choice but to pay attention. Now is the time to apply the knowledge made available by reason and science and history to the unconscious knowledge that we all share of self-preservation and morality, and to unify humans once again with nature, not as lord of, but as another embodiment of the universal truth of pure existence.
So we've watched.
Imagine mass panic.
And they're everywhere.
People lying around bleeding to death. People like you, not someone else in some other economy, in some other reality. You.
When I think of this complacent life which I led in the Soviet Union, I'm a different man. I think different thoughts, and some thoughts that appear in my head are so abstract and are so foreign to the nature of my mind that I really am led to believe that these thoughts are being broadcast to me.
There were some 20,000 people in the research of bioweapons in Russia.
Sleep in the day, in the park. But at night, I draw, I write. It's very unfortunate that I have to sleep during the day and I can't see my son.
You experience unusual perceptual experiences.
Auditory hallucinations.
Like themselves, experiences such as
And of course no one believes me.
I once had everything became clear. I was
Alex, yes, you're paranoid. Sasha, Nechtaho, it's, take a holiday, go to Karlovy Vary, have a spa, relax, come, see your wife, here. Let's have sex, and a nice hot bath, and you'll feel better. This is children's play. What I'm going through is very abnormal, very strange, very uncomfortable, and it is not my own doing, of course. This is not some fantasy of mine which I'm indulging in, this is
Alex suffers horrendous nightmares of being put down in the metro with half the city, and they turn the lights out, and people are running around screaming in the dark. We will continue to follow the faulty path, and responsible behavior will never become widespread, no matter how many bleeding hearts cry out.
It's an insidious cycle.
I feel like this little cat in this story by Kazakhstani is trapped in the corner, and the dog is being set on this cat. And there's nothing you can do, we're just watching. Some porn, entertainment.
The schizophrenic has several whispers in his head. The space being occupied in his head.
Alex is considering taking the matter into his own hands, but he doesn't want to kill himself. He He's a father now.
His mind, his subjective mind, is manipulating reality.
And he wants to be
His schizophrenic brain.
with his son.
The reality he sees is not his subjective. It's his subjective world.
A human being can't do this to himself.
He considers options like relieving himself of parts of his memory through a self-induced lobotomy.
Or maybe he can.
Desire, and consciousness of self.
These are inside. They're inside my head. These images and these voices and these obstructions are coming from the inside and out. I hear them coming from the inside out. I see them coming from the inside out. They leave and they appear.
Ultimately, the mind is made clear by simplicity.
His nightmare is going to become all of our nightmares, simply because there is no one capable of stopping a mistake. Of this magnitude.
Various offices that were once good are now bad, and now they're good again, and now they're bad, and I don't know. But they continue to harass me.
A call for human responsibility is in direct contradiction with the extreme material interests of powerful lobbies which live off of consumer culture. Their political influence is incomparably greater. All the influences of all the world's environmentalists, humanists, and moralists combined.
And the others were powerless against all systems.
The others do not know or feel powerless and helpless against all systems.
In fact, we don't have stockpiles available anywhere in the world.
People say that it's sort of a crutch, you know. It's not. It's not. If I could get rid of this
A fish forgets both its body and the water, and therefore it is free in both body and mind.
We live in a world.
We live
of entanglement.
in a world of entanglement
And become lost of ourselves.
and become lost of ourselves.
Although there have been some experiments with biological weapons, these have been on a very small scale and they haven't really penetrated into people's awareness. And nobody really knows what the real effects would be of biological warfare.
Nobody knows.
Probably they would be worse than anything we can imagine.
Worse than anything that you can imagine.
Cool mind penetrates all.
Alzheimer's.
A Portuguese neurosurgeon and neurologist performed the first frontal lobotomy in 1935. And in 1949, he received the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for it. As you know, this simple, cruel, and unusual form of psychiatry, which is a branch of medicine, which is a branch of science, has been banned virtually all over the world. And yet he won the Nobel Prize for it. For injecting alcohol into the forebrain to destroy the synapses and the memories. trace of your rule. If one does not contend for power or fame, then one does not invite the wrath and the jealousy of others. Because you have faith wisdoms in your religious texts and patriotic constitutions, and in your scientific processes, does not necessarily mean you must pass those laws and psychoses onto your offspring.